AJ, as the weekends and we all try to make sense of it, what are your thoughts about what can be done now to honor the senseless death of those two beautiful people?
Um, I think I think that when it comes to this particular case, there's a lot of trimming around the edges on the case itself. So even some of those headlines are they point towards campus anti-Semitism. They point towards the Israeli identity of the victims. I think what struck me very much in the immediate reporting the of the shooting is that in other racially motivated shootings, the the place of employment of where people worked, if it was not a motivating factor for the shooting, was of no consequence in the reporting. By There is no indication whatsoever that this individual who shot them knew that they worked at the Israeli embassy. He bought a ticket for a Jewish event for young Jewish professionals. It was a diplomat's night, so they could have worked at the Algerian embassy, the any one of the embassies. The fact that they happened to work at the Israeli embassy was a complete coincidence, but it was framed as such and thus transformed from something that was racially motivated or Jew motivated to something that could be seen as something politically principled or political violence. Um, in that, there's been again a lot of deflection onto the wider conflict of Israel Palestine. This is a problem that I think that we should focus on it in terms of violence in the United States directed at people that not only do you disagree with, so that is touching on, if you're going to go to the political sense, at least to go towards a domestic political issue, but more so an issue of erasing the Jewish identity from this crime. This is part of a larger issue that I don't love talking about anti-Semitism. I mean, I think anti-Semitism is a bit of a trap because it means so many different things to so many different people. It's very hard to define it. But I think when you say how do we deal with the aftermath of this, or how do we honor these individuals, I think that a lot of lies or a lot of mistruths are echoed and parroted nowadays, including by the media. And I think the big one this week was the 14,000 babies, right? The 14,000 babies that were supposed to just drop dead in 48 hours in Gaza. It was a misunderstanding of a statistical extrapolation over a year's worth. If there was no aid whatsoever allowed into Gaza, it the 48 hours and 14,000 people dying, it just had no basis in reality, no basis in fact whatsoever. And it was parroted. It was wall to wall coverage. So the extension of that is that it's kind of like what we saw with the violence against Trump, which is if you say that Trump is Hitler, you're morally obligated to go kill Hitler, right? And if you're going to paint people who are I guess the extension of the Jewish state is Jews, people who are evil, it somewhat creates in some people's minds an excuse to do evil against people that you think are evil. So people, I think, in the broader context, there needs to be some responsibility as to how we approach the what we portray as truths. This clearly was not a truth. The genocide, there's a very clear definition of genocide. Israel's not committing genocide, right? But that's being parroted over and over and over again. And it's part of a larger issue of just of saying things that we take no responsibility in. I'd say the last thing is there's a lot of just asking questions in the culture now, in the pop culture, both the right and the left, right? There's conspiracy theories, and then there's conspiracies, right? We can say that with, let's say, Jake Tapper's book. There's a lot of evidence to the conspiracy. We'll go into Joe Biden, who knew what and when. That's a conspiracy because it's rooted in factual reporting. A conspiracy theory is when you're just talking about, I just want answers. I don't know the answer, but what I'm being told can't be right. I just want answers. It's a cheap way of trying to discredit actual truth to just throw things out. And when it comes to Israel, almost all talk is rooted in, I just want answers, right? I don't know. It's like the Dave Smith thing when he was on Joe Rogan. Dave Smith knows nothing about the conflict, but he just wants answers.
Right.
And it creates an echo chamber for which people develop some really dangerous ideas. So I think that that's really what when I say we're trimming around the edges, we're not talking about the conversations we need to have.